Alright, tool users, this one's going to be pretty short, probably shorter than the rest of my videos, but that's because the subject matter, there isn't a whole lot to talk about. Anyhow, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about screwdrivers. Most of you probably know how to use these things, know what they're about. We'll just go over them for people that, might be, extremely new to using tools. They may not know this stuff. So anyhow, let's get started. So screwdrivers come in all shapes and sizes. They perform different tasks. You'll typically find a Phillips head. See if I can get this thing to focus. And a flathead to be the most common. But they also have hex type and all different kinds. Here's a little hex type here. If I can get it to focus, I probably can. It's pretty small. There we go. But the Phillips and the flathead is pretty much the most common. That's what you'll run into. Now, one thing you're going to want to be aware of is there is different sizes, just like sockets and pliers and everything else. You see, these are both Phillips head screwdrivers. If I can get them to focus. Again, it's kind of hard with this camera. There we go. So you can use a number 2 Phillips on a number 3 size head and it'll turn it, but it's going to strip it out. So whenever you're using a screwdriver, make sure you're using the best size for the screw that you're trying to turn. Otherwise, you're going to strip out your screwdriver or you're going to strip out your screw. And a stripped out screwdriver essentially has to be replaced. And to replace the whole thing, it's not like a little part you can just change. They do make some bit drivers that, kind of are similar to this, where you can pull the bit out and exchange it for something different. Those are pretty handy. When you strip those out, you can just put a new one in there. This one's pretty nice because it has a spot in the back where you can hold extra bits. That's kind of handy. So that's one of the types I wanted to go over with you there. One other thing to be aware of is handle design. Like, how much torque are you going to need on a screw? When you're turning it and you're gripping, sometimes screws are, tough. Your handle design is going to affect that. It's going to affect how much torque you can put on. And if you have a slippery design that, is just round all the way around, you're not going to be able to get as much torque as if you have a triangular design to it. I'm not telling you what brand to use. They all make different style handles, so go with it. But that's just something to be aware of. If you're trying to turn something that's way far down and you need a lot of torque and it's just a really tiny little screw, you're going to want something that you can get a lot of torque and grip on. So the other thing I wanted to go over is try to get a set that has a different shaft lengths and sizes, so that if you run into a situation where one won't get in, maybe the other one will. Granted, these don't have the same tip sizes, but they also make these little screwdriver style ones that turns, so it makes it easy to turn with your hand when you're working on intricate stuff. One thing I did notice with this one is, you see this handle's bent. One big thing with flathead screwdrivers is people typically try to use them to pry on things as well. That's a big no-no. That will chip and break your tip. It will bend the shaft of the screwdriver and generally wears it out extremely fast. You don't want to do that if at all possible. Try to get like a little pry bar to do that with. Some little screwdrivers have this little hex down here, or if you can't turn it by hand, you can put a ratchet or a wrench on there or whatever, a ratcheting wrench rather, or a wrench, and you can get it to turn. That helps. One other style I wanted to go over is this right here. This will fit a socket. So you can take a socket like this and you can put it on the end. Set you down real quick while I do this. Alright, you can put it on the end. It turns it into basically a nut driver. So that's nice to have if you need to get down somewhere you don't have a lot of room. Some of them even have where you could put a ratchet in the end here. That's pretty handy. You can get a lot of torque doing that. This one does not have it. Then they have what's called a pocket style screwdriver. So it's got a little clip. So if you're wearing a shirt with a pocket, you can fit that clip in your pocket and keep it handy. It's nice and you know, they're a pretty handy tool to have, a little flathead or Phillips screwdriver. So if you're gonna be doing a lot of work one day and you got one with a clip, and you know, you can keep it by you instead of having to run back and forth to a toolbox. So basically, you know, you got your Phillips and your flathead is typically what you're going to use. You want to use the right sizes. Don't want to use a flathead as a pry bar if you can help it. You know, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to use it as kind of scraper or whatnot. You know, it's just going to wear it out faster. Just be aware of that. The last thing I think I will talk about today, we'll wrap this video up even though it's a bit shorter than the rest, is sometimes there's specialty screwdrivers. Like this right here is for taking valve stem cores out of valve stems in cars. If I can get it to focus, you'll see how the tip looks. And it ain't gonna focus, is it? There we go. Yeah, so you put that in the valve stem and it pulls out the core, and you can replace the core if the core leaks. You know, there is specialty screwdrivers that do that kind of stuff. You can look out for them. Anyhow, have a good day. Take it easy.